Good afternoon, friends. I'm extremely sorry that there was a small delay due to technical issues. There's something known as a Murphy's Law in science. If something is to go wrong, it goes wrong. And in this new norm of COVID, we're trying to do something, and I think it's partially there was some technical issue. On behalf of the Nehru Science Center, the Ministry of Culture, and the National Council of Science Museum, it gives me immense pleasure to wish you all a very happy lectures by international speakers. The first one today will be by Mr. Rob Kirk. He's going to be speaking on hosting international traveling exhibitions in India. He's the head commercial operations of the Grande Exhibitions. I'm sure you must be aware of the Grande Exhibitions. They are very well known in multi-sensory, experiential, immersive kind of an exhibitions which they develop. I'm not going to take much time today. I know, because we are already late. I will hand you over to Mr. Rob Kirk. Mr. Rob?
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, thank you. And the stage is all yours, and our esteemed visitors are waiting to hear you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We very much appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. If you just give me a moment here, I'm just going to get our presentation deck ready for you. Excuse me one second. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much and welcome. We'd spoken to Mr. Kenneth and the team at Nehru Science Center a few weeks ago, and we're very excited about the opportunity to present to you today and give you a bit of background on Grande Exhibitions and the traveling experiences that sit within our portfolio. I'll give you an overview of our opportunities and give you an understanding of kind of what it takes to put on a large format traveling exhibition. And we obviously hope that it's of use and of interest to you on this celebration of International Museum Day. India itself is not a country that we have had the opportunity to present in yet. So, and it's the same for a lot of our competitors, a lot of our peers as well. And so we hope that there's opportunity in the future. Yeah, sure. We hope there's opportunity in the future to be able to bring one of our experiences to the country. So if I can give you a little bit of background, Grande Exhibitions essentially has redefined exhibitions and experiences globally over the past 15 years. We established ourselves in 2006 as one of the first organizations to bring a Leonardo da Vinci exhibition outside of the European region, and we brought it down into Melbourne, Australia, where there's a huge Italian population. Performed tremendously well, and then from there on we kind of saw an opportunity to partner with our Italian partners and our Italian friends there to be able to create a more robust, more larger touring exhibition to tour science centers internationally, and that kind of started us on a journey and on a pathway. Throughout the 15 years, we've always been at the forefront of creating new experiences and kind of redefining the way that people experience exhibitions, subject matters and cultures. And it's kind of something that has been the underpinning success of what we've been able to do internationally. And essentially, our philosophy has always been to deliver this fresh approach to culture and art and kind of break down those boundaries for people and to make the experiences as accessible as possible. And I think that's been one of the key kind of factors is in us being able to tour so extensively worldwide. What we do is in the subject matters that we create, they're of timeless subject matter and a broad cultural appeal. So what works for us in Asia works for us in Europe, in North and South America. It's the same content that's being displayed, but it works across the cultures. And I think that's also been a very important aspect in terms of what we do. So the foundation of the organization was in creating and touring large format experiences and exhibitions on Leonardo da Vinci. But over the 15 years, we brought other experiences into our portfolio. We have a large exhibition on sharks, kind of dispelling the myths and creating a conservation education message on sharks. And then we also then moved into multisensory digital experiences, projection-based experiences, which encapsulate large format areas and present subject matters in a completely different way. As you can see by the two images on the screen here, we have our Leonardo experience at the top and our Van Gogh Alive experience at the bottom, which is really creating a multi-sensory, multi-experience approach using subject matters which are iconic, of broad mass appeal, but kind of changing the way that you would present them. So to give you a bit of background on our kind of our global track record, as you can see there, we've had tremendous success internationally, presenting, over 180 times in over 140 cities worldwide and across many, many languages. We've obviously got a very extensive touring history. Our clients range traditionally from museums and science centers through to concert halls, exhibition halls, concert promoters, entertainment promoters. They really can vary depending on the part of the world that we're presenting in. But one of the things that I think is kind of the underpinning reason why we've been able to tour so extensively across the world is the flexibility that we provide. And we've never kind of come across a situation where we haven't been able to present an experience. There are always challenges that we overcome. And so that flexibility is key for us. But you'll find, look, in North America and in parts of Europe and Asia, it's predominantly museums and science centers that we present in. But then when you're looking at South America and Europe and certain other parts of sort of East Asia as well, we may actually partner with entertainment promoters or concert promoters who kind of see the opportunity to present something like this, sell tickets, merchandise, sponsorship, etc. Now, one thing you'll notice on this map here is there's a big gap where India sits. And I think that's probably the same for a lot of our peers and a lot of the traveling exhibitions out there. It's no particular reason, really. It's just about identifying where the opportunities are. And hopefully through the presentation today and the research that you do on our company, you'll kind of understand what it takes to put something like this on in your country and in your science centre, because we think that there's real scope for our experiences, particularly with Leonardo da Vinci, to be able to present a very compelling, very engaging visitor offering for your visitors and your attendees. So to give you a bit of a background and an overview of our travelling exhibitions that sit within our portfolio, like I say, we've got an established collection and the world's largest touring collection on Leonardo da Vinci. And that incorporates three kind of key exhibitions. The first one, Leonardo da Vinci, 500 Years of Genius, is a really full-scale exhibition. And it incorporates both machine inventions from Leonardo that have been recreated by Italian artisans through to studies and reproductions of his art, his anatomical studies, etc. And then also moves into interactive components of the exhibition, but also presents a digital immersive gallery, a multi-screen projection environment as well. So it really is a full encompassing exhibition experience. Da Vinci the Genius and Da Vinci Inventions are exhibitions which are displayed on a slightly smaller footprint. So Da Vinci the Genius probably sits in the middle, around sort of 750 to 1,000 square meters, and Da Vinci Invention sits around sort of 400 to 600 square meters. And they focus on his machine inventions, his reproductions of art and anatomical studies, etc. They don't include the projection-based experience. We then move into our Sensory 4 experiences. Our Sensory 4 experience are large format, multi-screen projection environments that encapsulate all the senses. Your sense of space, your sense of audio, taste, touch, smell, etc. We can really incorporate all of these senses into the experiences. Now, the two main art-based experiences that we present are Van Gogh Alive, which I'll go into detail in a moment, and our Monet and Friends, our French Impressionist experience as well. They're purely digital galleries, which are a presentation of iconic artwork, which are combined with audio scores to really create an emotional journey as visitors go through them. The two exhibitions here, Inventing Genius and Planet Shark, kind of sit similar to our large format Leonardo exhibition, where they are part artifact display, part projection environment. So Inventing Genius has been created to encapsulate the greatest inventor of all time in Leonardo da Vinci, with 101 inventions that changed the world, that were created and curated by 7 science center CEOs who we work with to kind of create that list. And that's really kind of putting innovation and invention all under the one roof in Inventing Genius. Planet Shark, which I referred to just earlier, that's a traditional exhibition experience which really kind of dispels the myths and breaks down the barriers when it comes to the perception of sharks. There's a real conservation education message which goes with this exhibition. And it's really about educating and helping deliver an experience to the public for people to understand that, you know, who the predator and who the prey is in this situation. People kind of get really focused on the fact that, you know, there can be shark attacks and sharks should be eradicated from the oceans. But on the flip side, if you were to take sharks out of the oceans, it would basically, it would be you'd be destroying the ecosystem that kind of works in the ocean environment. So it's a very much an educational conservation message that we have there. And then finally, our Alice in Wonderland adventure experience, that's an actor-led, narrator-based, immersive projection experience as well, albeit on a smaller footprint, but it also introduces an interactive play zone. So it's very much for the younger audiences, for the children and families to enjoy. And then down the bottom here, we have our small footprint impact projection experiences. Our 360 experiences are 360-degree projection environment cylinders of around sort of 10 meters in diameter. And they're used for sort of smaller displays, still impactful experiences, but where there may be not the budget or the gallery size to be able to present something on a larger format. We've also got a lot more flexibility with our 360 environments in order to be able to create bespoke content for institutions, for galleries, etc., who may just want to have a smaller footprint projection environment and do something in a different format, which is still flexible and adaptable as well. Now, it's important to note that all of these have huge brand appeal and they're kind of timeless in brand. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've been able to present them so extensively across the world. And they all operate as either standalone exhibitions where they command their own ticket, or they can operate within a museum environment where they may just be part of the overall display. Obviously, we're facing a different world that we live in today as well. So something else that I think is worth pointing out here in a kind of a COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 world is these experiences are presented and can be presented or adapted as contactless environments. And also they give people freedom of movement inside them as well, particularly our sensory for projection-based experiences. That's something that's obviously very important and very integral in today's society, and we're finding that people are contacting us a lot more now to understand a lot more about the experiences on offer, because we can provide that contact-free and freedom of experience within our exhibitions. So to give you a bit of an overview of venue specifications and production, which I wanted to kind of share with you just to kind of break down the boundaries and give you a bit of an understanding of what it actually takes to put one of these experiences on. It could be one of the reasons why we haven't been able to bring one of our experiences to India and that particular part of the world so far. But it's relatively straightforward in terms of what we ask for and what's required to actually put something on. And because of that track record and experience that we have, we've really refined everything down to make them as cost effective and as efficient as possible to hopefully then maximize the opportunity. And when I refer back to the types of institutions and the types of venues that we've presented in, you can also have your traditional venue, but you could also have a church or an underground space or an industrial warehouse or, like I say, a concert hall, which can easily be adapted. And we've done it many times with successful results. So we don't have to have just a traditional gallery space or museum space in order to be able to present our experiences. So in general, when you're looking at the venue, security levels just generally medium. Obviously, there's an element of audio-visual equipment that is being presented, and the artifacts that are on display are very much unique. But normal sort of gallery requirements are applicable here, and normal insurances are applicable. There isn't anything that's specifically required in terms of a security level over and above what you would normally do at your museum. In terms of ceiling height, look, ideally 4 meters is the best, or anything above that is kind of ideal. That's just to make sure that we can create a presentable, compelling experience, particularly when it comes to our projection-based experiences, because the larger we can project, the better it is. In terms of the space that's required, because of the range of content and the experiences that we have within our portfolio, we really do have options from 400 square meters right up to 1,200 square meters. So that we provide that flexibility so that when we're looking at different centers and when we're looking at different environments, we can really tailor and create a bespoke package for the institutions presenting it, to make sure that we can, make a compelling offering, ensure that we can tell the story in the right way, but also make sure that we're not trying to squeeze too much in, or at the same time trying to spread too much out that people feel that you're just kind of in an empty environment. So that's something that we really kind of focus on. When it comes to production, these are where the efficiencies can be made and kind of be understood. So freight, whenever we're creating the experience or the experiences that we've created that are currently touring, you're looking on no more on average than 2 or 3 40-foot containers to move around. Now that's important when you're bringing it into a country and a city for just one display, but also there's great economies of scale that you can work to if you're moving it around the cities within a country, because it means that it's very quick to be able to pack up and move around, but it's also very cost effective in that respect. Installation is another important factor. Typically for us, it's somewhere between 5 to 7 days once a venue is prepared. So it's important to make sure that we're very efficient and we're very effective in the way that we set up our experiences, so that we can minimize the downtime between them, either when we're rotating through or when we're moving from one city to the next. And then across those 5 to 7 days, on average, we normally need somewhere between 8 to 10 local crew to assist. We will send over 2 or 3 of our production team to work with a local crew. And normally we need sort of between 8 or 10 local crew who have the certain technical abilities to then be able to assist us. And they would be audio-visual capabilities or museum installer capabilities, nothing that sits with outside. Yes. And now? Is this move? Can you see this now? Okay, let me just go back to full screen mode. What can you see now? Okay, let's try that again. Okay, can you see that now? That's okay. Sure. You see my screen? And it has venue specifications and production. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So, like I say, we'll share this presentation with you guys afterwards, so that you can flick through it. But like I say, in terms of what I've been discussing, those are the kind of requirements that we're looking for in terms of venue and production. With regards to de-installation, again, very efficient. Typically 3 days on average, with a local crew involved of around 10 sort of people. So that when we're moving from city to city, we can normally work on a 10 or 11 day changeover period, which is important when we're trying to present in multiple cities. But as you can see, it's something that's very achievable from your side as well. Can you see my next slide? Okay, very good. Now, I want to give you an overview of each of the exhibitions and experiences in a bit more detail, just so you can understand the kind of the benefits in displaying. So as I mentioned at the top, our Leonardo da Vinci collection of exhibitions are the most extensive, most comprehensive exhibitions to be touring the world on the Renaissance Master. As a company, we own and operate a private museum on Leonardo da Vinci in Rome. And that has been the foundation of our experience and exhibition that tours internationally. And we've created 5 Leonardo exhibitions that are currently touring the world. So we've brought together experts from the Italian field and artisans there, but also work closely with experts in France, and in particular, Mr. Pascal Cotte, who is a French scientific engineer who had the unprecedented access to study the Mona Lisa and photograph her using a special multispectral camera. of which forms part of our display in The Secrets of Mona Lisa. This exhibition, this experience is very much about bringing Leonardo and his true genius to life and really kind of explaining under one roof the range and the breadth of his talent and the impact that he had on society, you know, as an inventor, artist, scientist, anatomist, engineer, architect, etc. People don't really have an appreciation. They know who Leonardo da Vinci potentially is in terms of his art, but they don't have an understanding of what he achieved from an engineering perspective. And so the machine inventions that we have on display and the interactive pieces that we have on display really help people get a more deeper understanding of Leonardo as a person, but also what he was responsible for. Now, referring back to those production elements, all of the experiences and the exhibitions that we travel are very much geared up to be cost effective to install and easy to operate. So it's very much one of those key factors that we kind of really feel that underpins the success. It's a hugely popular subject matter and an experience for us to present. It's probably our most popular one that we've been touring since 2006, and ideal for science centre environments because it really is sort of ticking all the boxes in terms of your STEAM education, because you can also introduce the art element to it and it'll kind of explain, certainly in Leonardo's day, he was using art and science together. So he was understanding science in great detail to adapt into his art, but he was also using art when he was kind of helping explain the science behind everything that he was doing. So, and the interactive components that come with it as well kind of really lend themselves well to the science centre environment. So, as I mentioned earlier, the three exhibitions that we present on Leonardo da Vinci are essentially due to different venue sizes. So Leonardo da Vinci, 500 Years of Genius, is our large format exhibition, anywhere sort of between 1,200, 1,500 square meters. We've got Da Vinci the Genius, which sort of sits in the middle, sort of between 750 and 1,000 square meters. And then Da Vinci Inventions, sort of around 400 to 600 square meters. So it really is something for everyone and something that can fit the budget on each. Now, Van Gogh Alive, I wanted to use this as an example for you to give you an understanding of how we present our immersive digital experiences, our projection-based experiences. These environments are essentially a large black box where we come in and bring all of the equipment and we present the subject matter in one sort of large environment space. So when we're talking about Van Gogh Alive, this is, you know, the world's most popular touring experience, multimedia experience. And the reason why we've used Vincent van Gogh is because he has such iconic, beautiful artwork, but also he's very well known internationally. So people kind of have an understanding about who he is and you know, why his paintings are so important. These are pure digital galleries that you walk into, and it's a combination of, you know, thousands of artwork pieces combined with an audio score, which take people on an emotional journey. And that's an important element to kind of sort of point out at this stage, because people are coming to these experiences with maybe a small understanding of art and artists, but these experiences have been created to really break down the barriers and really present art in a completely different way, an entertaining and educational way, and in an engaging way. We get a lot of young children, a lot of school groups coming to these experiences because it's the perfect way to introduce art to different audiences. And so that's kind of been one of the successes with this. And where we've been able to present it so extensively is because it's a subject matter that resonates internationally, but it's also a subject matter that is open to a very wide audience. So in Van Gogh Alive, you know, we use over 3,000 images combined with the classic music score for people to just come in and kind of, you know, experience something completely different and forget about the outside world. But also, you know, another important aspect of it, contact free, and also freedom of movement within inside, because it's a vast open cavernous space for people to be able to move through. Our Inventing Genius exhibition is a combination of two exhibitions that we kind of carry, which essentially pitches Leonardo da Vinci as the greatest inventor that ever lived against 101 inventions, or the most influential 101 inventions of all time, that have been decided by 7 science centre CEOs, international CEOs. So what we're doing here is kind of combining the traditional experience of Leonardo da Vinci with a very much a kind of a contemporary experience in the projection-based content that we present. And it's a really much one of those opportunities to present innovation and invention to your audience, but also gives you a great opportunity to introduce local inventions and inventors into the mix. So where we've had the opportunity to present this exhibition, predominantly in the US Science Centre market, they've also taken over an additional gallery space where they've promoted local invention and local inventors to help kind of tie in the subject matter and the story to the exhibition itself. So it's a really great way to kind of engage sponsors and corporate supporters, but also bring in the community from an invention and innovation perspective to kind of, you know, present something very compelling for your audience itself. Our shark exhibition, which I've touched on a couple of times, like I say, it's very much an exhibition and experience which is kind of the opportunity to have a conservation educational message to kind of dispel those risks and break down those barriers when it comes to sharks. People have a perception of sharks through movies and the media, etc., where they can be afraid to go into the water, but actually the reality is something completely different. Sharks have been around since before the dinosaurs lived on the earth. So it's very much a story about history and evolution to sort of say that they're a very important part of the ocean ecosystem and something that is very much in danger. And so that education conservation message is something that comes through a lot in this exhibition. And again, has been geared towards science centres and museums and aquariums as a subject matter to present alongside dinosaurs, for example, and alongside other exhibitions, as a way to engage an audience in a subject matter, but in a completely different way. Very popular with families and children, as you can imagine, and like I say, perfect for that kind of science centre environment. And we've got the opportunity to either present as an artifact-based exhibition or combine it with a projection environment as well, if there is space in order to be able to do that. I'll just touch briefly on these two exhibitions before we move on to other subjects. Monet and Friends is an extension on from Van Gogh Alive, as in the fact that it's a pure digital gallery, an immersive environment, immersive experience, and is using art as the subject matter to then create a very compelling, engaging visitor experience. So we kind of see this as an extension on from Van Gogh Alive, where Van Gogh Alive has been popular in cities around the world. There's also opportunity to present Monet and Friends as a follow-up experience. But one important thing to note as well here is when we're creating these digital galleries, we also have the ability to change the content almost overnight, so that once you set the digital gallery up, you could rotate it from Van Gogh Alive to Monet and Friends or to Leonardo da Vinci in terms of the digital content very easily and very quickly. And so it provides a lot of flexibility and cost effectiveness in doing that. Alice in Wonderland, like I say, it's a bit more of an intimate experience, kind of around 400 to 500 square meters. And we combine a projection environment with one of our 360 cylinders with a narrator actor-led experience. So it's very much engaging the children and having that actor-led interaction with the children. But then once they've seen the story and they've had the story read to them in a traditional kind of environment, they then move through to an interactive play zone for them to kind of release some steam and play around in the area. So going very much geared towards young families and children in mind. A storytelling experience, but with a very much a different twist. Okay, so just wanted to kind of give you a bit of an overview of the commercial approach, because one of the things that I feel has been important with the success of Grande over the 15 years that we've been touring, and the reason why we've been able to present in Kazakhstan, to Colombia, to Bolivia, to the US, to Hong Kong and South Africa and many parts of Europe and the like, is we have that flexibility in the way that we look to approach each individual opportunity. Now, our traditional model is very much a licensing approach, so that when we're presenting within a city and we're coming in for anywhere sort of between 3 to 6 months of display time, and it's just a one-off display, then the most traditional model that we use there is a licensing approach, because it's easy and simple for everyone involved. Where we look at partnered approaches or a combination of approach, and when I mean combination approach, that's kind of part license fee, part sort of, partnered approach in it, is when there's opportunity. And it's something that I discussed with Mr. Kenneth when we first kind of started to explore this opportunity in India is, if there's multiple science centres or multiple locations around a country, then we can certainly take a different approach, because there is some longevity to be able to bring an exhibition into the country and then move it around different parts of the country, different cities, and work in a partnership essentially to then kind of make a very compelling, engaging offering, kind of share the costs and an opportunity between everyone. So for us, opportunities are never the same. We always look at each individual opportunity with its merits and understand how we can make it work for everyone involved, because we understand that there are local factors that will influence that, and it's something that I'll touch on the next slide. So something, if we do engage in discussions with any of you guys, which we're hoping will be a follow-up from this presentation, that we very much are flexible in the approach of how we can do things. And that leads me on to corporate partner exhibitions and experiences internationally. Because of the large brands that we're dealing with and the subject matters that we're dealing with, particularly with Leonardo da Vinci, particularly with Vincent van Gogh, and also our Inventing Genius exhibition, there is a great opportunity to be able to incorporate corporate support, corporate sponsors, corporate partners into the display, but into also the presentation, and to help kind of make the projects a reality. So as you can see here, our list of corporate partners is quite extensive, and obviously very well known. And on the right hand side, you can obviously see some of the ways that we've been able to integrate corporate messaging, corporate influence, and private kind of support into the environment, to help give people exposure, which is important for them, but also is a valuable part and a valuable way to kind of make some of these projects a reality. I think, again, referring back to our extensive touring history, one of the reasons why we've been able to present in so many countries, and certainly in particular regions where it may be difficult to sustain a ticket price or a ticket price at all, is they've relied heavily on the corporate sponsor and the corporate support to underwrite the cost of bringing something like this in. And that may be something that's very flexible to discuss how we incorporate corporate messaging, sponsorship, etc., into the display, to make sure that it's not done in the wrong way, so that it isn't overpowering, but it's done in a subtle way to ensure they get the exposure, but also that the visitor doesn't feel like they're when we're presenting them overseas. So just to quickly wrap up, because I know we had a bit of delay at the start, so I don't want to hold you for too long. I know we've got some time for some questions. But in conclusion, to give you a basic overview of Grande Exhibitions and kind of how we look to operate, internationally, we kind of look to cover off these 6 sort of key areas which have kind of underpinned our success and the reason why we've been able to tour so extensively. So cost effective, we're engaging in what we do, ensuring we can hit many different demographics and kind of key sort of visitation. We're educational in terms of the messaging that we present. We create impactful experiences. We've obviously got a proven track record and an extensive touring history to back that up, and we've got a very flexible approach. And I think that's key in certainly sort of exploring opportunities with you guys over in India. So so thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll stop sharing my screen because I know there's some potential questions that may have been asked, and I'll be available to answer them with you now. So thank you very much. Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Rob.
My pleasure.
For the enlightening lecture that you gave regarding your traveling exhibitions.
Thank you. My pleasure. Hope it was of assistance.
This is a new norm, and you're experiencing something new. We're experiencing something new. So in the process, I think we got delayed for about 10-15 minutes. What we're doing is, like in most of the countries, perhaps this must be the only time where an International Museums Day is being celebrated when all museums are closed for the public.
Indeed, yes, it's very true. Yeah, and the same for us. I mean, we've got our exhibitions presented, across sort of 10 countries at the moment, and they're all in exactly the same situation. I think we have one open in Zurich, in Switzerland, which has just opened last week. And yeah, at the moment, everyone else is kind of coming back online. So it's a very unique situation we find ourselves in.
So Under these conditions, what we're actually trying to do is, to try and get connected, be always connected with the audience on the digital platform. In the process of doing that, we actually thought that, is it possible to, open a dialogue with the Grande Exhibition, for example, the 101 invention that you talked about. That's something which is very fascinating for the science centers. How do you inspire people regarding, the life and work that went into the people's life and work that went into, these inventions which have transformed the world?
Yeah, it's one of those subject matters that really resonates with science centers. And I think, in the Inventing Genius exhibition that we've created, which combines Leonardo da Vinci with the 101 inventions that changed the world, it really gives children in particular an understanding of, okay, Leonardo was so influential 400 or 500 years ago, and the things that he was thinking about are still influential and impactful in today's society. But also those inventions that have had such an impact with us over time, from the dawn of civilization through until today, but also where they kind of started from. So when we talk about one of the inventions, for example, is the telephone. Now, children would naturally assume that telephones are mobile phones, for example, but they don't actually understand that there was back in the day an invention that was created that was very different to what we use today. So it's really about kind of taking visitors on that journey and for them to understand the logical pattern and path that that leads us to where we are today, and how inventions and inventors have that impact on society.
Absolutely. I think another invention that, especially in the current pandemic time, the penicillin, for example, Fleming's penicillin, I think that's one of the things which has been included.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's one of those, we say simple, but it's one of those things that you kind of overlook, but you don't realize the impact that it's had, probably until retrospectively.
An exhibition, immersive, fully engaging the digital thing that the Grande has been doing. I'm sure some of my colleagues also will have had a look at this, and hopefully let's see how things work out. Saket, do you have some?
Very good. Yeah, no, like for us, like I say, it's a part of the world which is, important moving forward, and we hope that there's an opportunity to bring experiences there. It's just going to take a little bit of dialogue and hopefully some collaboration between some of the science centers over there to kind of ask the opportunity. And obviously we're available at any time to discuss things further, and I'll be happy to share the presentation with everyone so that they can explore it a bit more and take a look at our website and see what we can do from there.
Thank you so much. And in a global village, we're just separated by few hours of flight.
Exactly, I know.
Hopefully, one fine day, we'll have an exhibition of this kind in India.
I like to think so, yeah. And like I say, in a post-COVID-19 world, I think people still want to get out there and experience culture and do it in a different way. And I think there's lots of opportunity there. Now we've had this chance to engage discussion. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, and
Wonderful.
looking forward to having more and more discussions.
And you.
Okay, dear visitors and friends, I'm sure there was an initial delay. I would like to beg all apology on behalf of the Neuroscience Center. We have another event at 6 o'clock where you will actually have a look at the lecture that we're going to follow at around 6 o'clock. It will be delivered by Gail Dexter Lord, who is the co-founder and president of the Lord Cultural Resources, who were one of the consultants, the main consultants for the state government of Bihar. And Bihar Museum is being appreciated all over. I'm sure she will have some information to exchange with us. So looking forward to again welcoming you back at 6 o'clock. Thank you.